StephUp podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Ann Webb, and on my my guest today. See, I just do that stuff. My guest today is my friend and podcaster and uh PhD in awesome epic Kate, Katie Bjargvide.
Oh
I
my,
butchered that. How great was that?
that was amazing. It's actually pronounced Bjargvide.
Bjargvide. I like it because you're in Sweden.
Yes. But you don't just come to Sweden and just get tacked with a name tacked on. You actually married a Swede.
You married a Swede, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Katie, tell a little bit about yourself to the audience.
Real. I am so thankful for this introduction. I'm gonna have everybody introduce me as that from now on.
You should.
Yeah, I am originally from the US and I live in Sweden, married a awesome Swede. We were traveling together with the theater company. We were actually missionaries with a ecumenical, non-denominational Christian theater group called Covenant Players. And we met in Germany and we had kids and I was pregnant in South Africa and that was fun. And I have two 8-year-olds and a 2-year-old. But the thing was, after having this all-encompassing life, this was 13 years of my life, traveling around or being home based. Um, it was everything. It was my personality, it was my goals, it was my community, it was my cult. It was it was like the cult within the cult, you know? It was everything. So I needed something that I could pour my heart into. And YouTube really scratched that itch for me. But the thing about me is like even with Covenant Players, as soon as I had been in for one tour and the tours were 4.5 months, I was like, I can't wait to teach the next people that come through. I can't wait to teach them everything that I learned. And as soon as I was diving into YouTube, I was already finding myself with, oh, I want to teach people this that I've learned. And I realized recently it's kind of funny that it's almost how I imagine it is with psychic mediums. Being like, okay, ghosts, not now, is how I feel when I see people's YouTubes. I'm like, ideas, ideas, ideas.
Oh my gosh. Is it overwhelming though? It's overwhelming for me.
Only if I let it in, you know? If I don't, if that's, but that's what's really cool about when people let me in. Like they want ideas, then I can let it out, and it's like a spring of happiness coming out of me, and people are like, "Oh, that's a really good idea," and I'm like, "You're right, it is."
You've always been creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Um,
artistic and
when
people
I
please.
was in high school, I was like freaked out by the fact that high school was ending and senior year like blahs and stuff, and I poured myself into a creative project then, which was making my own books and putting memories into them. I like went to Kinko's and got so many pages of family pictures and did collages with them, and so I like to lose myself in the creative process.
Hmm. And I've seen some of your diaries, books, like they're full of pictures, drawings, like all your thoughts. Like they're so beautiful and you've
Oh,
shared so many of those with me. And
yeah.
yeah, it's really neat how and you must find that so when because you've got 3 kids and a husband, and that must be very busy and stressful at times. And so when you're just able to release all of that, when you're able to do podcasts, when you're able to write and put your cut out things and put things together, does that feel like release? Does it feel better? Does it release stress?
Yeah. It's like it's something for me. And that's what was felt so good about YouTube and being like doing that digitally and digitally cutting and arranging and puzzling together my words and thoughts and memories and all those things. And it's like, oh, I going into being a mom, I did not want to be like, my kids are the reason I breathe I've, and I don't know who I am apart from being a mom. I
Right.
never wanted that. I was like, yeah, of course I will love my kids, but I don't want to just be a mom. I want to be me. And I want to have something creative and fun to do.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that part of you, which I think happens
Yeah.
for many women.
Like a lot of people think that's what it means to be a mom, that you're just supposed to just disappear into the work. And I think that's awful. And we need our creativity. We need our space to be people.
Yeah. And so how many podcast channels?
Um, three officially.
Okay, there's Epic Kate.
Yeah. Epic Kate, Clearing the Creative, and a brother and a sister with my trans brother sharing about his queer experience. And we've had one of his partners on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've and you do a lot of family vlogs.
Yeah. I don't do family vlogging though. Like you think of family vloggers and you think of people who put their camera faces and like cry harder, oh, your dog died, but we need the thumbnail to show you looking really sad.
Right.
Like I, that's not a made up incident. That actually is one of them. So I don't show any of their struggles. And if there's anything that they wouldn't want to have online, I would take it down or make
Mhm.
it private, whatever. Um, it's just the happy, shiny moments with them, and am sharing some of my struggles, some of my thought processes and poetry and prettiness and encouragement.
So the clearing the creative, how did that come about? Because I know that you have the podcast and you will have sessions with people to help them clear all that extra to find maybe something that they're looking for, to find what's that word I'm thinking of?
Like expression or
Expression or
authenticity,
uh clarity. That's the word.
clarity. Yeah, that's a good one.
Because I know you've
Yeah.
helped me in those moments, like because we get so much in our heads, and this is my problem many times. I'm so much in my head that all the stuff that I really want to do, I get stuck up here, and I'm like, no, 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 I have to clear that to come back to myself.
Mm. Yeah. So I've had multiple wonderful conversations with friends and the ideas are let out. The imagining like a little trap door or something and you let the animal out. Like the and people were like, "Wow, these are really good ideas. I should be paying you for this." And I'm like, "I don't know what my PayPal is." Um, but I started to like actually hear that. Like, yeah, I am good at this. And it just kind of naturally evolved. Like I already had the Epic Kate podcast going on for years, and that's where I've had really wonderful conversations, spiritual journeys, places to get conversations to get perspective and compassion into things that you wouldn't already know. So it was really easy to just start a different one, but with this focus of, okay, in this conversation, we're having a session, we're going to look at your block and not just the literal block, but what is the belief behind it? What is the fear? What is the thing you're telling yourself that is holding you back? And I'm not saying, okay, in 40 to 60 minutes, we're going to solve your life and everything's easy, but it's
There's no
so many,
guarantee.
but it's, okay, I really work well with people who have already been in some kind of healing process for a
Yeah.
while and they know the tools that work for them. So they just it's looking at what their blind spots. Somebody explained it to me really well that it's like you can't see what your label is from inside the jar.
Oh, wow.
So it's like I can see the label. I can see the things that they can't see. And yeah, they may be way more spiritually developed than me, but I'm still able to give them something. And the aha moments that I have with people, they're like, I never looked at it that way. I never realized I believed that. And so they walk away from this conversation with, I know what I need to work on inside, but also with all the vlogging and podcasting and content creating experience I have, I give them practical things to move forward, something that they can do that very day to get movement in the project that they really want to get movement in.
Mm,
And
yeah.
for the listeners out there, I just, did a really big over the top grin because that's how I roll.
Yes, you're very fun and goofy.
Yeah, rewatch this just to see the Jim Carrey expressions.
That's probably why you were in theater.
Oh yeah, my mom said I was like a cartoon character with an elastic face.
Oh, nice. You
It
had a
actually
big.
doesn't work well for acting because you're like it's supposed to be a bit more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
But you were getting ready to say something. Did I totally make you lose track?
Oh, yeah, I don't know what I was gonna say. That
Yeah,
happens all the time. I was
no, it
like,
was all me.
no, no, it happens all the time. It was like, and I've talked to other people, mostly, I think mostly neurodivergence. I don't really know. But if you don't get it out or write it
Yeah,
down, and then it's gone, you're like, what?
yeah.
Oh,
So it's
well, it's
do with
fine.
something to do with the clearing the creative process, the inner work. It meets the practical work.
Well, it's interesting what you said about when you can. Yeah, first of all, that's why it's so wonderful to have conversations, especially with people who are able to see maybe your limiting beliefs or just say something or help you guide you through something because yeah, they have that perspective. I know what I know and yet I don't know what I don't see outside of myself.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so wonderful to be in conversations and community with the right kind of people. But also what you said, it's true because if you've already done a lot of the healing and the inner work, because there's so much more when you've got somebody who is, I know like where I was at, and when you and I have been friends for about 5 years now,
Wow.
where we where we were at when we were starting to come through religious trauma, and we were kind of blubbering messes at times, right? And I know the me now would be like, how would I mean, I know what I was going through, but how would I have been able to help me? There's just
Mm.
so much of a process to go through.
Yeah, that's so
So,
true. And when it comes to content creating, there's so many processes to go through. It's so normal to hit the wall, to get discouraged about results, to feel like you're locked into, I can't maintain the process that I've been doing this, but the videos have to be edited within an inch of their lives. They have to be 13.07 minutes long, and just to be able to give people the permission to see like you made rules for yourself and for your content that are not working. And this is something you can do to make the process work for you again because you are the boss.
yes, we do get so stuck. I get constantly, Katie, and I have to remind myself, no, this is what I want to do versus what are they out there in the online guru spaces, whatever. What are they telling us that we need to do?
Yeah.
And we can get so easily stuck. Like, I'm sure when you started podcasting, were you more focused on this is what they said we have to do? Or were you just
Uh,
already free with what you were doing?
Podcasting has always been generally easy for me because I love listening to people's stories and I love asking questions. And I look back in my old diaries, on my old journals, I was interviewing people as a kid and I was transcribing it all as I asked questions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had forgotten about that until years later. Like, oh wow, I did that. I've always wanted to talk to people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is part of the, no, I know that is part of the creative aspect where we just flow with what works for us, what we want to put out versus because our audience will come to us because they are attracted to that. They like it. You're not putting out your content for an audience that won't like it.
Yeah. Like that's a huge block that people have is thinking too much about critics or yeah, their own inner critic instead of just letting themselves do the thing that they want to do. Like it drives me crazy when I hear people think that a story that's really deep, really long, they need to cut it down to 10 minutes because people's attention spans are too short. Like,
Right.
no, let the story take the time it takes. Let it be.
Yes, that's one thing that has gotten me. That is one thing that's gotten me a little bit stuck is the rules about speaking.
Mm.
So there's all these people who teach public speaking, right? And they say, okay, it has to be, don't go up let your story go over this amount of time. And then you have to have the points. And then you have to like, how can I help you? And blah, 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 blah. And when I start focusing on how do I do this, it takes me a long time to write that out. So that's why actually what I do is I get on my mic and I just, if I'm going to do a live talk or whatever, I just let it flow and then I take down the notes from what I was saying. Because I start out with the story, however long it goes, and then I bring it back to how it relates to life. And I find if I have to follow the rules, that messes me up and my brain can't handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. For the people just listening, when she was talking about the people who say it has to be in these bullet points, I was making very mature yeah, yeah, yeah expressions.
I thought you were grabbing something.
Well, I was grabbing
Oh,
something.
oh.
I had the idea after I made the very mature expressions. I had the idea to see if you would be up for it to dive into a block that you have regarding a creative process in your life. What's something that you're like, oh, this is too hard. I want to do this, but I don't want to do this. I feel like I have to do this.
I feel like I've been working through this for a long time,
Mm,
and constantly going back and forth on what people say you have to do.
mm,
So, for example, social media, right? So when maybe I create a post from the podcast, like a little reel, or
mm-hmm,
I just do my own reels. And then I start worrying, well, what do I say in the post? Oh, you have to have this many keywords. Oh, you have to have this many hashtags. And what hashtag? Blah, 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 blah. I can get stuck in that.
mm,
Whereas I did one the other day and all I did was ask, like, because I was talking about being brave. And all I did was ask, are you being brave? And then a few hashtags. Because I was like, I don't want to think about how much to post because I'm not in that space where I want to write a long post today.
mm.
But I can get
That,
stuck in the how-tos because I'm a
that
rule
is
follower, Katie.
That is a really, really good thing to put out there for the people listening is what's the easiest thing you can do?
Yes, like let's make it simple
Yeah.
so then it'll be fun and you'll want to do it.
But okay, so that was a really broad one. But is there something, even it doesn't even have to be related to content creating. Is there something creative that you just feel like is you just don't have the steps set up for yourself?
Um, well, there was a Facebook group where they're looking for, like where you look for guests for podcasts and whatnot.
Mm,
And they said we're looking for women to be um why can I not think of words today?
like,
Featured.
yes,
Featured
featured.
in magazines and whatever. And so I there's an opportunity to write an article. And I sat down the other day trying to write this thing. And I knew what I wanted to write about.
Mm-hmm.
But I sit in front of the computer and there's this blank Word document. That always gets me mixed up because it's just when it's blank and you're very much aware you have to start writing something. And
Mm.
I'm like, wait, how do I start? So I guess we could go with
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so you invited me before we started to pull a card. I haven't actually
Oh, can
done
you
this
explain your cards?
yeah. I haven't actually done this in a while.
Ooh.
With my conversations. I kind of have forgotten a bit about them. Funny that, huh? But it's like all the disciplines of things to like what am I looking to say? Like spiritual disciplines or whatever, or creative disciplines. It's a muscle. You don't exercise it, it goes away. You don't put things where you can see them, they don't exist. At least that's how it is for me. So I made these cards because I was kind of like interested a bit in tarot because it's like, well, the people who raised me said that was evil and they're wrong about everything else. So the tarot's probably okay too. All the witchy stuff is probably okay, actually. But it was way too complicated looking, so I made my own cards. And I actually had a bunch that I'd already made, and I was like, what if I could just like read them? What if I could use them? And I have made some newer ones since then, but I've had some really neat experiences with it just being a message that really hits home. So let me
Nice.
see if. And remember one time I picked one for you and it had a fairy on it, and I didn't even know that you made fairy little scenes.
Yes. Was that before I put out my fairy? I think that because I had them in a box. I hadn't used them for a while. I think maybe
Mm-hmm.
that prompted me to bring out the fairies.
Oh, that's so cool. All right. You know what? I'm picking another one. I like,
So these are things that you found in like magazines and
yeah, I'm not
something.
an artist in the sense of being able to draw stuff. I glue and cut and I write. And so some of them have phrases and some of them my kids even picked out the phrases and they're like super meaningful and like,
Oh,
"Whoa, how did their little minds come up with this?"
kids are so um they don't have all that extra baggage that we've accumulated over the years.
Yeah. All right. So this is the card that I pulled and it's there's a little cartoon guy who's climbing up this ginormous flower, kind of fairy-ish-esque again there. And there's some other perspectives. One is like I can take a picture of it and send it to you, but one looks like it's kind of close to the ground, and one of them looks like it's kind of looking up from a vantage point, like maybe into a I don't know. It's the thing that immediately jumps out to me from this. Oh, and one is right up against tree bark. So it's change your perspective when you're
Hmm.
starting something. Like going out into nature and getting right up against a tree or getting looking down from a different place or looking over and out from a different place when you are looking in a different way you can get inspired for something to say. Oh, it rhymes.
Right. Yeah. And
And
one,
like also oh sorry.
no, go ahead.
Like we one of the things that we can do when we're especially if we're working from home is we just get like we're in the same room for all day. But if you have flexibility in your house, then be like the kitchen table is for promotional work. The bedroom is for um meditation and the whatever. The living room is for editing and having different zones can also freshen up your approach to the project.
Yes, that's so true. Because you can get so stuck in this is where I sit and I do this, and then you kind of feel a certain way. And you, like, if I sit at my desk, I'm like, this is work time. But if I'm sitting here and trying to be creative, it's also maybe I'm in a workspace mode, not creative mode.
Yeah. And I had a thought.
Mm.
Oh yeah, when you said you sort of knew what you wanted to say, but then you sat down to write and it was like empty page, that's a really good moment to record a short video because that can help you kind of get the words flowing of the thing that you want to say, and then you're putting a little bit of that encouragement into the short, and then that gives you a starting place to go from in your writing.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because I do find when and writing for me, you're dancing. Writing for me, sometimes like I finished my little book about Chippy the Chipmunk, but it took me like a year because I started writing, then I was in the flow for a day and then nothing. And then just within like almost a year later, I'm sitting down and I just sat down for like 3 days and I finished it.
Oh,
But it comes when it comes, and sometimes if you're trying to force it. So sometimes I like to write but mostly for me it's verbally getting it out.
yeah.
So yeah, that would help or even just getting on and recording myself on Zoom or something.
Yeah.
Dang
Yeah,
it.
then you have something to look back on or voice note on your phone.
Yep.
Or just straight up making a video if you don't feel good about how you look. You don't have to have the camera facing you, but I think that that is a huge hurdle that I know a lot of people struggle with is feeling like I can't capture in the moment stuff because what if I don't look nice? And
Yeah.
that it's like people don't care, don't remember how you look. They remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And and it's pretty darn relatable to not be looking perfect 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much more meaningful to share the ahas and the silly and the serious and the bits of encouragement and inspiration that start pumping its way around your brain as you're walking from one place to another or taking a shower or whatever, to just put it out there in its rawest, most authentic form. That's people are going to resonate with that a lot more than, oh, I've got to get myself all pretty and all ready. And then you set up to record and you're like, "Gah."
I feel like I don't really don't put on makeup anymore unless it's some event like a wedding or whatever. But I remember trying that a few times, like, oh, I need to put on makeup before I do a video. And first of all, I don't enjoy doing makeup. But second, by the time you do all that work, you've kind of lost the creativity. You've lost that moment.
Ah. And there's not, I don't, I wear makeup once a year at the Pride Parade. Um, but I lost my point, my train of thought. Oh, yes, I wanted to say I don't begrudge. I don't want to be like, oh, that makeup is stupid and people who wear it are too high maintenance. Like, no, if, if, what's that movie with Reese Witherspoon and she goes to law school? Legally Blonde.
All I had was Elle Woods, but I knew that wasn't the
Yeah.
name of the movie.
If Legally Blonde taught us anything, it's that solidarity. People being themselves is the most beautiful thing and the
Yeah.
truest thing.
Yeah, and it's very artistic actually. Like when I see some of these videos of people doing makeup,
Yeah,
wow. I
amazing.
wish I loved it, but it looks so hard and I've tried. I'm like, no, I hate this. So for me, it's not fun. So I don't do it if I don't have to.
What do you think are the big problems that people have to telling their story and putting themselves out there so they can connect with their people?
I think it's just this fear thinking we're not good enough. And
Oh,
yeah, the criticism. What if somebody says this? What if I think that like what if somebody hates me and comments because there's all those trolls out there and and if I say something that might be different than how we were raised religiously, what if my family sees this? What if they start telling me I'm wrong and there's a lot of judgment in that kind of space.
so do you think
And
it's a I'm not safe?
yeah. Yeah. Or you
Hmm.
don't know how I know for me when I like it's so much less now. Kind of like, okay. If you don't like it, that's fine. But before, it was, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to respond
Mm.
because I was
I think,
so used to just people pleasing and like I have to do what you want me to do. At that time, it was like I don't know what to say, what to do.
mm. And I think another thing is that people think that they have to have it all figured out before they can start.
Right. Oh my goodness. And those of us who are perfectionists, when I started this podcast, I didn't know anything, of course, as we tend to do. And I mean, I was looking up stuff, I was learning, but I was like, it has to be perfect. It has to be this. And it
Mhm.
wasn't. But you learn as you go. And man, but if I had let that really, it kept me stuck a few times, just like stress wise. But if I had let that affect me in even starting, I wouldn't have started.
Yeah. So let's look at those three things. Not good enough, it's not safe, and I don't have it all figured out. For the people listening, if you're in the I'm not good enough phase, there's keep in your alone time, in your journaling space, in your quiet space, really like say that out loud. I'm not good enough to do this thing. And see if you can feel it in your body and offer yourself compassion for feeling that and just dig deeper into yourself. Like, why do I not feel good enough? And you know the things that you are good enough to do. You know how you have like helped people, how you support people. You know you have a story inside of you that is like itching to be told. And I hope you know that your story matters because it does. I don't know what your story is, but I know your story matters because I believe that everybody has a story that matters. So, yeah, dig into the question of not good enough and see how you can feel your way through to no, my story matters more than my fear, and I am good enough to believe that. For the it's not safe people, Stephanie talked about that of like how she has managed to grow to get to the point of it doesn't affect me as much anymore, and like have some faith that you can get to that point too.
Mm,
You can get to the point where it's like, okay, I don't believe the way you do anymore, and there's nothing to do about that. We're not going to change each other, and we're just in different paths now. Your path is your path, and I respect that. And my happiness is not dependent on you approving of my path.
that's a huge one for many of us. It's
Yeah.
beautiful when you can just like be like, this is my life and I'm doing what's best for me. And that's okay if just letting
Yeah.
people be as they are. Wow,
Yeah.
game changer.
And and you can create content before you share it. You can build your little nest egg of ideas and yourself. And when you get that readiness in your body, if it's time to put it out, you'll have stuff there. You'll have stuff to work with, or you, through the process of recording and building it up, you will have built up your comfortability and confidence in front of the camera that you can, you know, start to record for real.
Yeah.
Because nobody's gonna force anybody to do something they don't feel ready to do. There's not a time limit. When you decide to start is the perfect time.
I love that because it takes away this pressure and this shame that I feel is so pervasive in our society with the hustle culture and um
Mm.
if you don't you might die tomorrow, so you gotta do it now. And it's like, but maybe you're not ready to do it now. Like when I think about that, I used to get so stressed, right? And you're not really always ready, but you just do it when you are ready to be ready, I suppose is the
Yeah.
right?
And yeah, you know when you're feeling safe and secure. And of course you can still feel afraid. I still feel little twinges of fear about some things and doubts of what people think. And it's like, but like when it comes to doing the podcast with my brother who's trans, it's like I got over my fear, leaning into the purpose of it, putting a face to what a trans person wanting to live their life looks like when they've been so demonized and harassed, and they're trying to push them out of existence. Like I care more about solidarity for them than disappointment from the people who don't agree with their lifestyle.
Hmm.
And for the don't have it all figured out people, welcome to the club. Let's get t-shirts. Anybody who says they have it all figured out is lying. We're all adults that are like sure that people are gonna like pull the mask off and see that we're all kids that don't know what we're doing in trench coats or whatever. Like,
Yeah, and I think sometimes what might get people is when you see the Instagram perfect.
mm,
That stopped me for a long time. But I think the more of us that come out and just do things, we see videos and pictures. It's like, yeah, this is what I look like this side, this angle, or I don't have a mansion to rent, or whatever they do with with some of those influencers. It's like, but that's not even, it's fine because we're just putting
mm,
out who we are and where we're at, and that's perfectly
mm.
wonderful.
And it's irrelevant what other people are doing and how they're doing it. And everybody that is helping other people is doing it in spite of their own struggles and in spite of their own imperfection. So it's okay. It's much more interesting to follow people on a journey than to follow people who are like, when I reached enlightenment in 1970, it was awesome, and I haven't eaten since.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful when we can connect, connection,
Mm,
connecting with people, and that'll draw them in, and because they're like, you're real, like I always say, let's just be human. That's
yeah,
what we're looking for. We're looking for that beautiful connection. So anyone who has something to share, it's so
yeah.
relatable for so many of us.
And that's my dream that I'm waiting and building my belief in myself for it that it is coming, that clearing the creative, or I actually have the inspiration of making it clearing for the creative, because that's like more encapsulating of what it is than like, okay, we're gonna get rid of all that creative now. Um, But my dream is that I'm the cheerleader, coach, friend, person on the journey that's like, okay, I know this is intimidating for you, but you got this. And okay, and I'm also a video editor, so I can, puzzle it together. I want you to get some footage in your backyard of your favorite flowers and your tennis shoe collection. And we're gonna add that to there to make it more sparkly and giving people the practical ideas for their videos and accountability for what to do next, and just to help them get the ball rolling to, you know, as the topics come up, as the fears and stress and doubts come up, to, talk them through it.
Yeah, that's it's such a beautiful thing that you're doing, and the way that you can help people. And I know I appreciate it, and I know so many people that we know and have in common who have had sessions with you appreciate it.
Aw,
How
yeah.
can people, I'll put all the information in the show notes, but how can you name all of your, like, how people can find you?
Yeah. So I actually have a website, clearingthecreative.com. And that's probably just the easiest thing. I have an ongoing blog on there with encouraging thoughts and perspective things for the person who wants to be creative and is feeling alone in that journey. And you can find all the other things through there. You can find the Clearing the Creative podcast through there and contact me.
Awesome. And Katie, do you
Yeah.
have any words of wisdom or anything you want to add to leave the listeners with?
Let's see. I already said your story matters. So that's check. Um, I think that there's a lot of people out there that just don't know how interesting they are, how rich their perspective is, how funny they are. Like, it doesn't have to be, oh, so serious. Um, like they don't know how enjoyable they are, how sparkly they are, and how them adding their bit of light to their little corner of the internet, how that could make a difference, how that could be the spark of joy that somebody needs, that could be the encouragement that somebody needs to like not give up. Like
Mm,
whatever it is that you're passionate about and the change you want to see in the world, you can be a part of that change by adding your voice, by standing up for those people and talking about what you survived, how you got through. And it matters so much. So don't underestimate yourself and the power of your story and the difference that you can make.
that's beautiful. And one thing that just reminded me of what you were saying is sometimes we can get overwhelmed with all the stuff online and all the
Mm.
negative stuff, but like you said, like we want to add beauty. We can add value and positivity and beauty to the world through what we create.
And if two people watch it, or 40 people, or 100,000 people, it's none of our business. It doesn't matter. You just make the next thing. You just keep putting it out there as long as you feel like this is something I'm supposed to do.
Yep. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Katie. It was wonderful having you on the Stuff Up podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me.
Sending love to you all. Bye.
Bye. Hugs.
Hugs.